Shalom. Welcome back to Hebrew Literacy. Today we are going to continue with our directed immersion in the Hebrew of the book of First Kings from the prophets, from the Nevi'im. Now, today will be a little bit different and maybe a bit shorter. We went pretty long yesterday. It might be a little bit shorter this time because last week, when we were in First Kings, it was pointed out to me that I had made a mistake. The previous week, I had listed 3 verses in the title that we had covered, but we had only covered 2 of the verses, 11 and 12. But it said 11 through 13. And usually when I'm deciding what to show you guys, I just look real quickly and see what we did last week. I do the screenshot for this week or whatever. And so I thought we had done 13. That had not been caught in the indexing or by myself. So this week we're going to fill in verse 13. Last week we did 14 on. So we're going to fill in 13. It's a little out of place. Probably in the playlist for Kings, I will reverse the order. I'll get them in the right order for anyone who's just going through Kings. So if you're new, the normal way to walk through our directed Hebrew immersion is to kind of weave through all the books that we're reading through, right? Because what we do is I might introduce a topic or teach you guys something, some kind of pattern in the language or so-called grammar in the language that works when we're in the Torah, when we're in Exodus. And then the next day, like today, when we're in Kings or the prophets, I might piggyback on that, right? You remember what I said yesterday, and then I'll piggyback on it. And then tomorrow in Koheleth or in Ecclesiastes, I may build on that further. And then next Monday, when we're in Judges, I might continue to build. So the normal flow is actually not just during one book, not just through one book, but you can do that. You can do that. Each class is supposed to be directed Hebrew immersion, where you can watch it, you can swim in the text with us, and still enjoy. Yeah, still get something out of that. So I do have separate playlists for First Kings, Judges, Exodus, and Koheleth if you want to go through those. Although Koheleth, I think, is actually just in the Megillot, right? The Megillah playlist. So you can do it either way you want. You can just pick the book you like. But if you have more time and you're new to the channel and you want to go kind of get the full experience, I recommend you start with the playlist. It's a podcast also that's called Language Lab. Okay. And that will weave through the different books. Okay. Although you might want to start with some of our newer stuff, like Jump in the Middle, where we've got the color drawing and all that stuff. I think we've kind of stepped up our game and improved over time, but it's up to you, really, how much time you have. So my prayer for everybody tonight is that, or today, the morning, whatever the case may be, afternoon in Europe, that Adonai will fill your hearts with praise and your minds with contentment, that everything that you set your mind to shall be accomplished, including the learning and acquisition of Lashon HaKodesh, the holy tongue. Wish that blessing on all of you by the merit of Yeshua HaMashiach. Okay? All right, so let's do it. We are in First Kings. I think it's chapter 18, verse 13. I think that's right. I should have put the chapter up there, but I did not. All right, so first I will just read through it. We'll scan through it. Vayomer el banaiv, hivshu li hachamor, vayachbeshu lo hachamor, vayirkav alive. Okay. Now I'll read it with our little tonal things. All right, so you can kind of, those of you who are used to it, I will do a high tone for a suffix. That's something at the end of a word that's like he, his, to him, she, hers, to her, etc. And if it's part of the verb, that's an affix. It can be in the beginning or the end. That helps tell you who's doing the thing. I will make that go lower. All right. Vayomer el banaiv chivshu li hachamor vayoch beshu lo hachamor vayukav alive. It might sound funny if you're hearing this for the first time, but a lot of people tell me this helps them. I was trying to think of a way to help auditory learners or people who just want to be able to listen to Hebrew and understand. There's a lot of people who can read biblical Hebrew fine, but you put on an MP3 of biblical Hebrew or something and they can't get it. They can't keep up with it. So there's a whole nother dimension that we can expand our Hebrew learning into and use it to further cement what we've learned. Okay. How are you guys doing in the premiere? Is the sound okay? I can't change it if it's not. By the way, tonight's drink is from the English Tea Shop with a Heksha kosher mark on it. This one is called Green Sencha White Tea and Matcha. Not to be confused with Russian matcha. Всех русских говорящих, слушай, это не матча. Я не допиваю. Matcha, не matcha. Little joke there for our Russian speakers. Yeah, and I added some almond milk, steamed it up nicely, and added a teaspoonful of sugar-free hazelnut syrup. Ooh, I just thought, let's experiment, because I'm not a big fan of matcha, actually. My Syrian Messianic friend used to push that on me. Oh, it's so great. Wow. I'm like, oh, I can't stand it, but I know it's good for you. So, anyway, last week we were preaching about longevity and trying to live long that you might accomplish your goal. So, I don't want to be a hypocrite. I need to focus on my own health as well. Okay. Vayomer. Vayomer. The verb amar, aleph mem resh, if you're just listening, is to say. To say. The yod at the beginning, this is going to make it, the yo will make it he. That's the he part. Not the color I was going for. This is the one we usually use for affixes. There you go. That's he. So yomer means he is saying or he will say, generally. It's imperfect. But we have our special vav conversive. Is going to change all of that. The general formula for the vav conversive, when you're attaching it to an imperfect verb, that means this verb like yomer, right? Yomer is he will say, right? But if I want to say just he said, I say amar. There's no need to prefix the yod then, right? So yomer is the imperfect. It's an ongoing action. It's not been completed yet. So if I want to put a vav on in front of it, the vav doesn't have to change the aspect. But if it's going to be a vav conversive, usually it follows this pattern, what we see here. What you'll do is you'll take, let's draw it up here. Yeah, but let me make a note. For topic indexers, please take note of this. Well, I can't draw so high. Let's draw down below. There's more space. Oh, that's by me. How about over here? Okay. Vav, or you can call it wow, because that's what it was in ancient times. The vav conversive. The general pattern that it follows, if you have some word X, right, those are the three root letters of the verb, okay, and you've got some affix here, okay, in front of it, like we have here, that's our he. Okay. Then you draw your vav, okay, supposed to be a vav, a little bit sloppy, and you put a patach underneath. That's the flat horizontal vowel marker. And you put a dagesh in front of that first root letter. Let me zoom in so that those of you who, by the way, this is in UHD 4K. Sometimes, very often, YouTube doesn't get it updated in time for the premiere. So if it's not updated, I'm going to zoom in for those of you on smaller devices. So we have the vav, we do a patach, and we put a dagesh in that first affixed letter. That means it's added to the root. Okay? And so you can see the same thing happening over here. The cyan is kind of showing the affix letter. And then here's our root, Aleph Mem Resh. And then here's our Vav. Oh, something happened to it. Maybe I leaned on there. Okay. Let's colorize this also in the same color. Hold on. To make it more clear. Okay. So you see what's happening here? We have, there's our Vav, there's the Patach, and there's the Dagesh. I'm sorry if you're listening only. Tonight's focus is for the visual learning style. You can still listen and learn, but I'm concentrating mostly on making sure visual learners understand. So Va with the Dagesh, that is going to change the aspect. So instead of Yomer, he will say Va Yomer, and he said. And he said, then he said, etc. Okay? Following the example we have over here. Vav conversive, I should have said plus and imperfect. Yeah, let's see. Vav conversive plus an imperfect verb. Imperfect, meaning it's ongoing. Oftentimes meaning a future action, not always. Okay. All right. Any comments or questions? You guys got it? So if it had said Vatomer with a Tav here instead of the Yod, if there had been a Tav, well, in that case, it would mean, and she said. Tomer, she will say. Vatomer, and she said. Or it could be you will say, talking to a man, became and you said. So that to would be this cyan thing here. That's the affix, something that's affixed to the verb. Now, what happens if that letter can't take a dagesh, if it can't be doubled? Like, what if it starts with aleph? Like, aleph is that's the letter that we connect in front of an imperfect verb to signal the aleph from the word ani, or anochi, I. And aleph can't be doubled. In that case, what happens if you do start with an aleph? Let me show that. I think that can be useful. I'm taking a bit more liberty to go into some more rules tonight since we only have the one verse. And let me do this exception. So here's the main rule. I've got some delay in my drawing. That's odd. Okay. What if it starts with an aleph? So if your affixed part is an aleph, there's the rest of our word. Okay. Then what's going to happen? You'll still add your vav, and you try to make it a patach. But now I'm going to change the color of the dagesh that goes in there. Let's make it, yantar. Let's make it yantar. Okay. So usually we try to put a dagesh in here, right? But let me turn off here. Let's turn off the Hebrew literacy thing for a bit. Well, there we go. Maybe I can come a little bit over. There we go. Okay. The dagesh is rejected, and it's going to come down, and it's going to lengthen that patach. You can think of it as becoming the vertical spoke on the patach there. Let me zoom in for those of you on smaller devices. You see what's happening there? Ah, just when I got it where I wanted it. I'm getting some strange delays. Yeah, we'll just go right here. Okay. So this part, this vertical bar, that guy is, you can think of it as from the dagesh. The patach, the horizontal bar, that's called a short vowel. That's a short vowel, the patach. A kametz is a long vowel. So we've gone from being a short vowel, the dagesh came from up over here. He's not going to stay in the aleph because he's not allowed. He comes down over here and attaches itself to the patach. Grammatically, that's not what we'd say, but I think this is a useful visual mnemonic. So you're lengthening it. And this won't just happen in this case. This will happen anytime you have a situation where you would, almost anytime, not hate and hey are sometimes weird, but when you would expect a dagesh forte, that is a dot to go in there to double because of something being assimilated or whatever purpose, or that's the rule, and it rejects it, it's going to come down and it's going to lengthen the patach or whatever vowel to a longer vowel. It's a kind of a general principle that will happen a lot. So you can learn it for this, but then you'll see the pattern in other places as well. Okay. All right. Vayomer, and he said, El unto Baniv. Baniv. So you see, we've got the construct box there. We've got it marked as a construct. That's because when you want to put a suffix on a word, on a noun, you first have to change the noun into the construct state. If you're a foreign language speaker, if English isn't your native, you might know this as a substantive. That's what a noun is, right? A lot of languages, they call it substantive. So the vav at the end, that is our pronominal suffix for he. He. That's the vav. So the word is banim. Banim from bain. I'll make my mem Sophie very small there. Banim, meaning children or sons. And to put that in the construct state, any word, almost always, when in the plural it ends in a mem, Sophie, like we have over there, you're going to delete the mem. So instead of banim, it's bene. That's children of or sons of. Okay, so we're going to delete him. Marked for deletion. The mem is deleted, just like the hands of many jihadi Islamo-fascist terrorists in the Hezbollah Iranian proxy military. Gone. The 80s called. They said they want their pager technology back. sorry. Okay, banim becomes bene. Bene. Sons of, and then the vav is he. Sons of he is really what that's saying. That just sounds weird in English, so we say his sons. So, vayomer, and he said, or then he said, el, unto, banaiv, the sons of him, his sons. So here we have direct quotes, scare quotes I'm showing if you're just listening. What did he say to them? Chiv shu. Actually, chiv shu. Chiv shu. So that ooh at the end, that is going to be. Ah, what happened? You. Aha, back. That is going to tell us that it's. This is actually an imperative, so it's not like at the end of a normal perfect verb, you would see oo as they, right? But at the end of an imperative, like a command, it's the plural form of like y'all, you all, utes. Everybody do this. So the oo here, I'm going to colorize it with an affix color, cyan. And I'm going to tell you, you don't have to remember that this is an imperative, but it might be useful to know. I'm just going to put it here. Topic indexers, please pick up this in your topic. In case you don't know what I'm talking about, everybody, there's at the bottom of many of our videos in the description, after we go live, one of our volunteer topic indexers, they will go through as they're taking notes for themselves and learning, and they will put a time code and what the topic is about. So if later you're remembering this video and, oh, what did he say? What was the command form? And you don't remember, you can look in our description after a couple days. It will be updated. And you can look through the description for the part that says imperative, command, in parentheses or something, and click on that time code in the description here, and that will take you to that part of the video. You can jump right there. Okay. Similarly, you can search our channel for various topics and words and Hebrew words and stuff, and that's slowly growing and being more and more filled out. So this is an imperative. Imperative. So when you have the ooh at the end of an imperative, that tells you y'all. The Southerners really have it best. They preserved the y'all form. That's you plural. If you're reading like a King James English or something, you, that's the plural. That's all of you guys, right? It used to be you. But, okay, something funky happening with my camera. Let me. All right, I fixed it. So, y'all. Chiv shu. Y'all. Now, what is the verb chavash? So, chavash, most of the times you'll see it means to saddle, right? Like to saddle a horse, to saddle a donkey, to saddle a camel, etc. Okay. This is the verb that's used in the Akedah, the binding of Isaac. When Avraham Avinu, he gets up early, and instead of having a servant do it, he himself saddles the beasts, right, to go for the journey. So it can also have other meanings, like to twist something, or even to bind up, to imprison someone. You can see why binding up or to wrap around, why that would be saddle, because you're wrapping the strap around the animal's midsection, right, and tightening it. So I guess that's kind of, you'd almost be better off if if you have trouble remembering things and you have to pick one meaning, choose to wrap around. Right? So wrap around li li lamed. The lamed, generally you can choose from the word to or for. It has other possibilities too, but in this case it's going to be for. Choose for e. Not choose, but chiv shu li. Wrap around for me. So I'm just going to write I. That E ending is I, but for I doesn't sound right. So you can fix that easily on your own. Just it sounds weird. For me, ha chamol. Ha chamol. What is ha? Ha is the definite article. Sorry, my video software made a flash that got my attention. Okay. The ha is the, from ancient Hebrew, hal. The chamol. Chamol. Chamol is an unkosher animal. It's a donkey. Donkey. Chamol. Interestingly enough, I think also the Mohammedans, they also don't eat donkey, I think. Who would? Donkey. All right. Vayomer el banaiv. Pardon me. Vayomer el banaiv. Kivshu li ha chamol. So he said, or then he said unto his sons, wrap up for me the donkey. Right? So saddle the donkey. People didn't ride horses in those days too often. Okay. Not sure when the horse was introduced to that area. Okay. Oh, well, the Egyptians had chariots, so maybe it was already introduced, but perhaps they were too expensive. I know camel came quite late. Ironically, to the Middle East, camel was late. Okay, continuing. Vayach beshu, or with our total reading, Vayach besh oo. Okay, so this ya and the oo, these are affixes to the verb that are giving us some indication of what it means. Hold on, I'm having trouble with some of my equipment. Okay, got it. Yo This one is going to tell you third person. That means it's going to be he or they. It's not. It's going to be third person masculine or third person common, right? It's not going to be just women or just a single woman. And then the ooh will further help categorize it as a plural. Okay, so we can add plural to that. So third person plural, which is they, right? Yoch beshu. They will saddle. They will wrap around. It can also mean, I think, to imprison sometimes. Oh, yeah, not to prison, but you're tying somebody up, right? Okay. Then we have our Vav conversive. Da 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 da. That guy over here on my side. That's the Vav, and you can tell. You can't always tell. Sometimes context clarifies it, but in this case, you can definitely tell. Go. Actually, let me detail this. I want to mark this up nicely for those of you who don't quite get it yet. All right, so let's do this. So Yachbeshu, this is what we would call an imperfect. Making sure I'm not in the way. You're such a perfectionist. Imperfect. Act. Check my English spelling. Imperfect. Looks a little weird. Anyway, imperfect. Okay. And then the magic of the Vav conversive is that it's going to change that. Let's use line. It's going to change that. So let's kind of superset it. There we go. He's going to change that to a perfect. The perfectionist has struck. What do you want me to be perfect? By the way, if anyone has said that to anyone, no, your spouse has not talked to me. That's not. I'm not making fun of anybody. Don't think that someone. This happens sometimes. I'll say something to be silly, and then someone thinks like that they were lashon harad by someone telling the rap about it or whatever. No, and it's not anybody in my family either. I got this funny scenario in my head. Okay, so please don't overread into anything. So yach beshu. That's an imperfect verb, which usually will express present or future, or it can be past kind of continuous thing. Okay. The Vav conversive or the Wow conversive, that Wow at the front, following the rules I detailed over on the left, is going to change all of it. So you see the scope. I put the kind of lime color around it all to a perfect. Perfect meaning a completed action, which usually maybe 85% of the time means past tense in English. Right? When we consider something done, it's done, it's in the past. We don't usually speak about the future prophetical event like, oh, what do you see? What's going to happen in the future? Usually, when an English speaker tells you what they saw in their dream about the future, they don't say, and this happened, and this. I guess you could. We call it the historic. It's okay. English is complicated. We have like 16 or 24 times, so maybe it's a bad example to bring it into English. Anyway, perfect usually is the past tense. Okay, I just don't want you to call it past tense because that's not really accurate, and you'll get into trouble with prophecies and stuff later on. If someone's telling you, but it says, look, it's past, it happened already. No, the prophets they use this for the future a lot. So now it changes. So vayach beshu, instead of meaning yach beshu, they will saddle. Vayach beshu means and they saddled, or so they saddled. What did they saddle? Lo, for him. For Remember I said it can be 2 or 4? Funny. I'm done drawing it. Look, it's still drawing up there. How slow the computer's being right now. Whoa. What is going on? I mean, I'm not like doing recursive levels of ray tracing or something here. There's no recursion going on. At least I don't think so. Okay. So 4. Oh, oh. What is the vav at the end? Don't worry that it's pronounced as an O instead of a wa. In ancient times, it would have been a wa, right? Don't worry about that. So the O at the end, that's really a vav. There's a vav at the end. And a vav at the end of a word indicates he. I want to just, let's make that stand out a little bit. Let's make that stand out a little bit. What? I selected black. I got that color. He. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Vayach beshu, and he saddled, or and he wrapped, if you want to be literal, lo, for, oh, for him. And they saddled for him, rather. What did they saddle? Ha chamol, the donkey. Done drawing. I can watch it go. It's like watching the past from the future. Even the erasing is what is going on? Okay, the donkey, ha chamol, and we're almost done. Vayilkav, or vayilkav. Rakav is like to mount, right? Like to get into the thing. It's kind of interesting because we have a noun that comes from this. A makava is a chariot, right? A makava. And so you would rakav the markava. So it can kind of have the feeling of to begin to ride, but you're getting into it, you're getting on it. Okay. So rakav is to mount, but here we have the you at the beginning. Okay. Again, demonstrating how to do this without making it too messy. I think we'll just go like this. Okay. So you, Yilkav is he will mount or he is mounting. And then again, we have the Vav conversive to the rescue to change the aspect. Okay. So the same thing that we saw before, we have Yilkav together. That is a imperfect form. I'll write it Hebrew style without the vowels, imperfect. And then we've got adding the vav to it. Makes it perfect. It's perfect. Yilkav, he will mount. Va Yilkav, and he mounted. He got onto. Okay, what did he get onto? Alive. Not dead, but alive. Sorry, I love multilingual puns. In our household, we always value jokes where a meaning of one word, something in one language sounds like something else in another language. I'll tell you an example of a horrible mistake. If you ever make mistakes in language, don't be embarrassed. For sure, you didn't make them nearly as bad or socially awkward as I have. Here, let me finish marking this up first, then I'll tell you the story. I'll come now. My device is malfunctioning. Okay. Or actually, the software on the device is acting strangely. Let's hope it doesn't explode. So we said when we have a vav at the end, that vav, I'll just write it again over here. There's space. Means he, or some form of he. Some form. But I'll keep it simple, he. So it's less to memorize. Shachol, there it is. Okay. Al is upon, I've, upon he, upon the donkey, upon it. That's why we've got it there. And let me turn off the banner so you can see all the notes clearly. Boom. All right. So I'll just end it with one story about a linguistic mishap. When I was a college student, we had a foreign exchange program, so I got to study at MGU, that's Moscow State University, for a little while. And when I was over there, there was a it's not on my camera. Weird. Oh, well, we'll just leave it. I wasn't good at Russian. Okay, at first I wasn't really good. I have another somewhere else. I record the miracle of Hashem answering my prayer. But when I was not good at Russian yet, and I'd be speaking to people, I would try to just add an English word if I didn't know the Russian word. Right? Yeah, maybe it's a cognate. Make it kind of Russified a little bit. And I've heard Russians do this in Boston before. When I was going to school, you'd hear them say like "parkavat" to park the car. Park avat. They make a verb from the English word parkavat. And so I thought, okay, I'll do this in Russian. So I was at the market one time, and I wanted peanut butter so badly. This was not like today in Russia where they got everything, but this was like just post-Soviet. Like this, they're still using abakai in the stores. You know, when they bring up your total, they have these old ladies. You go to pay, and they're all, and then they tell you the total, right? Not a calculator, abacus. So wooden abacus is pretty cool to see, actually, like a vestige of history about to fade away. And anyway, so I heard that there was this Armenian market that once a week would meet and they had peanut butter. The Armenians would import peanut butter and other stuff. And so I went and yes, I did find peanut butter. I was so happy. I bought peanut butter and I thought, oh, I need some jam for the peanut butter. Got to have like some strawberry preserves or something. So I saw this old lady selling strawberry jam and I wanted to know if it was natural or not, right? Like, or if there's some chemicals or something in there, or there are preservatives in there. So I didn't know the word for preservative in Russian, which by the way is konservant. I didn't know the word. So I took preservative in English and I said, Tam jest preservativi. Are there preservativi in there? And it turns out that that word means condoms. I heard people snickering and the old lady looked at me like, American twisted freak. What's wrong with you? She just disgust on her face. Oh, how embarrassing. Later on, I realized I had asked, are there condoms in the jam? What's condoms in their jam? So look, whatever mistakes you made, embrace your mistakes in the language. It's okay. Don't be embarrassed. Grow with it. They will stick with you forever. And in the worst case scenario, you have some nice stories to share with people later on. All right, be blessed. Have a wonderful day or evening ahead. I will catch you guys later. Shalom, shalom.